fishes. Y'all multiplied. It's a beautiful sight from up here. So some of you know that my family and I have been house hunting lately. And I have to tell you, if you haven't done this recently, it's quite interesting to be given permission and have good reason to look through other people's pantries and closets. It always feels a little invasive. I feel a little more comfortable when the houses are already vacant. And you find some quite ingenious floor plans out there. And some that leave you thinking, huh, I wonder what that builder was thinking. And we have been reminded by various countertops and colored walls and flooring that really not all of us have the same idea of what makes a house look like a home. And that's okay. And we found with backyards, some of them out there are pretty tiny. Some are well manicured, and some of them, you wonder if the people who live in that house ever went outside. It's a jungle out there. Well, there was one home we saw that was pretty nice on the inside. And in the outside, there was a big hole. I think it was supposed to be a pool. You could kind of see some of the shovel marks, and it had what I think had been a vinyl lining in it. And I've seen pools that have vinyl linings that are beautiful. This one was not up to par for being shown. It was empty and dirty. There were branches in the bottom and a lot of leaves, and I'm pretty sure something was growing in the puke green puddles at the bottom. It was a sad shell of what might have been. I can relate. I've been there. I've felt like that empty pool before. Just last week, I had another of those dreams in which I woke up feeling not good enough. The dream kept replaying all of the times when I failed. As a pastor, as a mother, as a wife, as a daughter, as a friend. It was replaying scenes when I didn't know the right thing to say and I said very much the wrong thing. Or I didn't reach out when I should have. Or I reached out too much and smothered and was overbearing. The times when I wasn't organized, when I started projects and never finished them. The times when I didn't spend enough time with people who were important to me, and now they aren't here. The times when I should have separated recycling, when I should have read more, when I should have written more letters to my congresspeople. All the ways that I'm insufficient. Have you ever had nights where you woke up in the middle of them with those similar thoughts?
Yes.
Have you ever had days where you have had those thoughts running through your mind? All the times, all the places, all the people you have lost, all the things that could have been, all the things that never will be. I don't think any of us are alone in that, and feeling like an empty pool, and just wanting to curl up in that hole and hope it all goes away. I wonder if the hosts in that wedding in Cana felt like that day that we just read about in this morning's gospel. You see, wedding feasts back then lasted for a good week. It was a party. It was fun and festive. But it was a little bit more than that. There were a lot of little social things that happened. And on the third day, the wine ran out. Now, that's not just like being at a church potluck and we're running low on salad. Because wine was a symbol of blessing. For the wine to go out, this would bring shame on the hosts. They would be humiliated. They would be mortified. Their social standing, their status, it was on the line. They might never be able to look at their friends, their neighbors, their relatives in the eye again. And Mary was there. And she had compassion. And so she knew what needed to happen. And with a nudge from Mom, Jesus told the servants to get these 6 large stone jars used for purification that were empty and fill them with water. And then he directed them to bring some of that water over to the chief steward. And somehow in the process, the water became the best wine. They weren't sure how it happened, but the hosts need no longer fear their social standing. It might have improved. Crisis averted. Grace abounds. And all who were there experienced this abundant blessing. Now, changing water into wine may be one of my favorite of Jesus' miracles. And it may have been his first public miracle, at least as recorded in John's Gospel. But it's also what Jesus does with us each day. Because we are like those empty jars. And Jesus fills us with grace upon grace, with abundant blessing. In the waters of our baptism, the Holy Spirit fills us with gifts like we heard in Paul's letter to the Corinthians, gifts like wisdom and knowledge and faith. But we receive other kinds of gifts too, some that might be a little bit more easy to recognize. Gifts that I know you all have, gifts of being a good listener, gifts of being able to read well publicly, gifts of being able to sing on key, which I try to turn my microphone off because I'm sorry I don't have that one. But at least others of you do. Gifts of being able to use a hammer and a screwdriver properly. Gifts of being able to figure out how to run the PowerPoint and the sound system. Gifts of hospitality like cooking and baking and making others feel welcome. Gifts of the courage to do the right thing. Gifts of determination to not give up. Gifts of being able to step back and see the bigger picture and what needs to get done and do it. Gifts of just being a calming presence. In this place, we overflow with those gifts onto one another and out into the streets. Did you notice by chance that in this very first miracle, Jesus doesn't lift a finger? You see, with all of those gifts, in our baptism, we are called to use them to proclaim the good news of Jesus Christ. We are called to use those gifts to care for others in the world God made. We are called to use those gifts to work for justice and peace. And in this passage today, Jesus called others to use their gifts of filling up jars. To do that without spilling is a gift. And to follow his call. And with his blessing, the water turned to wine. Jesus didn't have to move at all. It was others who used their gifts. Others who filled others. Because Christ fills us, we fill others. I know that if Jesus went over to that house in that backyard that I saw, he would fill that pool with the clearest, warmest water, and there would be beach balls and laughter because others would be there to enjoy the party. That's what we are called to do. That's what Jesus does for us. We are filled, and so we fill one another with love, with hope, with joy, with peace. And we need not ever listen to those voices that creep into our head, telling us how empty we are. We can stop them right there. Because we know that we are beloved children of God. We have been sealed by the Holy Spirit and marked by the cross of Christ forever. We have been filled with that water, and we come to the table and we are filled with the wine and the bread. We are never left alone or left empty. And so let us always share that abundant blessing with all we meet. Amen.